Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, I am playing the Tier 9 Russian destroyer Tashkent. Tashkent actually was a real ship. Just reading from the wiki, the Wikipedia about the Tashkent. Tashkent was the lead ship of her class of destroyer leaders, officially known as Project 20, built in Italy for the Soviet Navy just before World War II. Problems with the previous Leningrad-class destroyer leaders demonstrated design experience had atrophied in the years since the Russian Revolution of 1917, and the Soviets contracted for design assistance from Fascist Italy in the mid-1930s. Delivered without any armament in 1939, Tashkent was given a temporary armament when she entered service with the Black Sea Fleet in late 1940. She was having her permanent armament installed when the Germans invaded the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa, in mid-1941. During the siege of Odessa, the ship escorted a transport to Odessa and provided naval gunfire support before she was badly damaged by Axis bombers in August. After repairs were completed in November, Tashkent ferried reinforcements and supplies, evacuated wounded and refugees, and bombarded Axis positions during the siege of Sevastopol in 1941 and 1942. The last ship to enter Sevastopol harbor in June before the city surrendered. She was crippled by Axis bombers on her return voyage to Novorossiysk and was sunk a few days later during an airstrike on the harbor there. Her wreck was refloated in 1944, but it was a constructive total loss and was scrapped after the war. Now, in terms of how the ship is played in game, you will see that I generally want to try and stay away from the bad guys. The ship has, for a destroyer, very good range and short-range torpedoes. And it'll become readily apparent why you don't want to get close, and the primary reason is the detection radius on the ship is not very good. You can see that it's 8.2 kilometers, and it's not, in my opinion at least, not worth setting the ship up for stealth when it makes such a great mid-range HE spammer. Now you can see that I saw the Chapayev back there, and I was encouraging the Kitakaza not to run in there. But, he's opted to do that anyway. So he's going to face off with Drake, Chapayev, and Yugamo. I didn't consider the odds there very good. Now granted, there's an Alaska, Musashi, and a Hood backing him up, but it's not going to change the fact that he's going to be really the primary target for anything that can shoot him. With 6 guns, Tashkent's able to put out a fair amount of shells. You can see the trajectories are very nice. Initial shell velocity is 870 meters per second. The HE shells do a maximum of 1900 damage. AP, if you get a chance to use it, can do up to 2500. But penetration's not all that great on the AP, and my recommendation in general is to stick with HE for the most part. If you get close to a cruiser and can get it broadside, maybe there's an opportunity to use the AP, but in most cases that's going to be what I would consider kind of suicide range in this ship, and you'd probably be better served using your torpedoes. It's not too surprising that the destroyer that I recommended not pushing into the cap was sunk, but now we have a fair amount of ships on this side. We've got Alaska and Schultz both in the cap. It's forced the Yugamo back. The enemy Caracciolo and Drake are, they're kind of on the run. I'm sure they're trying to avoid shells from Musashi in particular, but both of the battleships are back there. Meanwhile, the good guys at Bravo are coming very close to securing that cap. Blyskowitza, Alabama, Mainz. There's quite a bit there. Where the Reds kind of have the advantage here is at the Alpha cap. Our Dmitry Donskoy and Scharnhorst are really just kind of fighting a delaying action on that side, while the bulk of our team on this side of the map tries to secure these caps. Just trying to get some fire started, which is kind of what this ship excels at. Now really, I don't want to sit on this side of the map. I'm going to start heading toward the center a little bit. We do lose our Blishkovitsa and Chungmu, the enemy Friesland. Really getting those guns hot. Friesland, of course, doesn't have torpedoes, so anything it does with, well, I suppose you could say, technically, the ship itself could be considered a torpedo, but in this case, it was the guns that did all the work. On the mini-map, you can see Friesland, Schultz, and Ugamo all in pretty close proximity to one another. The Friesland is lit, so I want to get guns on that ship. It is a definite threat. Schultz goes down to our Schultz, which is great news. Trying to get everybody on the team that can, shooting the Friesland. And although I'm going to be taking a little damage sitting out here, I do have 3 heals to use. And the Mainz finishes off the Friesland. So now, the enemy team is down 2 destroyers, we're down 3, and they're also down the radar cruiser that they lost early. It's my opinion that taking out destroyers is job 1. That Ugamo is a serious threat. And since we don't really have a destroyer this side now, I really have to continue pushing mid and see what I can do to try and help hang on to the Bravo cap. Alabama's trying to stay in the game, but soaked up a lot of damage early. Big picture, we have 2 caps. The bad guys only have 1. Both teams have lost 3 ships. I've put 66 shells on target so far, started a few fires, but only 33,000 damage. Our Mainz also finishes off the Caracciolo. And looking at the situation here, I think I'm going to try and help with the Bismarck. Donskoy might get him with torps, but it's unlikely. Bismarck, of course, has hydro. So unless you close to absolute suicide range, it's really tough to kill a Bismarck that's got his hydro active when you're trying to get him with torpedoes. But maybe I can get some fires going. Plainly, this Bismarck is spec'd for secondaries. Secondaries are firing from quite some distance. So I will keep my distance. You can see he's showing flat broadside, so I switched to AP, just trying to do a little extra damage there, but he's going to start angling. And I'm switching back to HE. And granted, he's already burning, but maybe I can get another fire started somewhere. And as you can see, still pretty decent damage even with the HE. I don't want him to get away, so I will continue pouring it on, trying to finish him off. And down he goes. So, the 130s on this ship they're good guns. Travel time to target is not good, not bad at all. The arcs are good. Turret rotation's pretty decent. And now it's just me and Scharnhorst out here. And my thinking is I just kind of have to fight a delaying action here. What I'm waiting for is Alaska and Musashi to kind of mop up that side. They've got Schultz out ahead of them. The Mainz goes down to the enemy of Ibuki. And, we find ourselves now down to 5 ships. The bad guys still have 6, but this is not over. And in terms of position, I think we're doing pretty well. If Alaska or Schultz can light up the Ugamo, that'll be a big help. Jutland is visible now. I think it's important that we finish off at least one of the 3 remaining destroyers on the enemy team. You can see that this Iowa doesn't really want anything to do with me, and I don't really want anything to do with those big guns. So I will just, again, fight a delaying action. See if I can't get the Iowa burning a little bit. You can see our Alaska there telling the Musashi to pull back. Musashi's probably concerned that if he does a full turn, he's going to eat a broadside of torpedoes from the Yugumo. And I'd say that that's a legitimate concern. If I can keep Iowa busy over here, and keep Iowa from firing on our Alaska, I'm going to consider that a tactical win. I'll just continue trying to light fires. Now you can see he's starting to swing his guns the other way. We'll see whether or not he brings them back or not. And I've got a destroyer behind me. There's the Mahan. He's slowing down to get into his smoke. Maybe I can land a shell on him there. I do, so I just target the same area. Yeah, he's moving forward. And that's probably going to be it for him. I don't see how he's going to survive this. I'm sure he's hoping to finish off the Scharnhorst, but the Scharnhorst is really, especially at that kind of range, really good at handling destroyers, particularly if the player has switched from AP to HE. Scharnhorst has a 20-second reload, which will allow it to really do some work against destroyers at close range, as long as it can avoid their torpedo strike. That's probably going to do it for Mahan right there. And now I have to get back to work trying to stop Iowa from pushing straight at the Bravo cap.
Торпеды прямо по курсу.
We're down to 4 ships. Bad guys have 5. Now I've put 203 shells on target for a total of 68,000 plus damage. Managed to finish off 2 ships. And you can see Iowa. Well, Iowa can. That player can, I'm sure, see the writing on the wall. They're going to have to make something happen here. Our Musashi and Alaska, well, they did a good job on that side. Alaska, of course, is gone now, but they did force the destroyers back. There's another fire on the Iowa. And now we've got our Schultz out there kind of screening for torpedoes and against the enemy DDs. Now it is not a really effective screener against, particularly against Yugumo, which has fantastic detection radius. But anything that it can do to help mitigate the torpedo threat is a big plus. Iowa successfully navigates the torpedoes, but Musashi just puts it right down. Jutland's guns finish off the Schultz. You can see Jutland is pushing for the cap. Turn to make sure I avoid these torpedoes. Guessing he's going to reverse a little bit. We'll see. I'm angled to the Ibuki. Those guns are, well, they are devastatingly effective against destroyers. Yugumo torpedoes finish off our Scharnhorst. We're down to 2 ships. Bad guys still have 4. And this game has a whole different flavor now. I'm going to quiet the guns. Try and secure this cap. I can see where Nagata was last seen. My guess is he's still back this way. Jutland was making for Bravo. He's in there now. I'm sure that's probably why I'm detected. And Yugumo is kind of right ahead of me, and I got to see if I can finish off the Yugumo. He's almost dead. So I'm taking some damage. He angled really well there. I misjudged the angle, but I think I got him there. So now I have to angle against possible torpedo strike while also remaining angled to the Ibuki. I do have a repair and I do have another heal. So I'm going going to slow down here. I'm angled against the torps and I should go dark.
Неполадки устранены.
Now, try and secure this cap without getting sunk. Jutland is going to take the Bravo cap. There's not a whole lot either myself or Musashi can do. And I am lit up by Nagato. Now you can see where his guns are pointed. And it doesn't take long for me to figure out that he must be AFK. Unfortunately, I didn't figure that out until it was too late for me to stop the ship in the cap. But I really have to keep moving anyway because I do have Ibuki out there and I don't want Ibuki to be able to put shells on me. Fortunately for me, Ibuki went behind this island hoping to cut me off. And that almost certainly means the Nagato, who probably at one point or another thought, well, I'll go over here and it looks like we have this in the bag. I can go refill my coffee or get another beer or whatever the case may be. Change the baby, let the dog out, you name it. And man, that really cost his team. Really cost his team. So, I wasn't able to secure the Alpha Cap, but I was able to sink the Nagato, and that gave us more points. So, with 4 minutes and 10 seconds left, my hope is that Ibuki has to finish getting around the island and will go through the Alpha Cap, and that myself and the Musashi can pincer the Jutland. And because, yep, there's the Jutland. Because the Musashi has positioned himself the way that he has, he's in a perfect position to be able to put guns directly on the Jutland at basically point-blank range. Jutland's going to try and angle, but even if he had another set of torpedoes, there was no way he was going to get him off. Musashi just completely blapped him. And that is, that's the final nail in the coffin. Now I'm, at this point of the game, really hoping I can maybe secure a Kraken. So I'm putting out torpedoes in what I consider the likely trajectory of the Ibuki given where he's at now, because I think he's going to probably have to angle against Musashi shells. It's really just a question of whether he comes this way far enough, because these torpedoes only have a range of 8 kilometers. You can see he is starting to turn. He's going to start angling against the Musashi as long as I can keep him detected. The Musashi is a legitimate threat. And this is going to end quite suddenly, so I will just say I hope you enjoyed this. I had a good game, whether I'm able to get the Kraken here or not. And you'll see that here in just a second. And it was really fun. And when I first went through this line, I didn't really understand how to play it. Understanding how to play it makes a big difference. And I find the Tashkent very fun now. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Oh, I know. That hurt. And I'll see you next time.
Неполадки устранены.